Hey Core Team, this is Nathan Carls, and today we're going to be talking about relational ministry. Pope Francis in Evangelii Gaudium says that the church will have to initiate everyone, priests, religious, and laity, into this art of accompaniment, which teaches us to remove our sandals before the sacred ground of the other. The pace of this accompaniment must be steady and reassuring, reflecting our closeness and our compassionate gaze, which also heals, liberates, and encourages growth in the Christian life. Like Pope Francis said, accompaniment is steady, it's reassuring, it helps us to meet the gaze of Jesus Christ. So what does that really mean? Relationship is relational ministry, kind of difficult, also kind of a buzzword. We may not know how to initiate and fully do it, but if there's anything that these recent years, that COVID, that coronavirus has taught us is that relationship is at a premium. Connection with another person face to face is at a premium. It's important, it's essential, it's what's needed in today's day and age where coronavirus has separated a lot of people, families included. It's made us feel isolated, anxious, just confused, unclear about where we are in life. Relational ministry solves and has an answer for all of those issues. You may be wondering how youth ministry, how Renovate meets the needs of bringing the gaze of Jesus Christ to young people. And I'm going to refer back to something that I learned in my college experience, my undergrad experience at business school, and it's what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what Maslow talks about in this hierarchy, this pyramid of needs, is that all people, regardless of your place and stage of life, have essential needs to the human experience. They start at the most basic level and work their way up to just like higher levels that we all aspire for. At the very bottom are basic physical needs. This is things like food, shelter, water. After that are safety needs. Those are things like personal security, employment, health, that sort of thing. After that are belonging needs, and these are interesting. These are things like friendship, intimacy, a sense of connection. Family is really important in this need. After that are esteem needs. These are needs like respect, self-esteem, status, feeling like you're heard and seen. And the last one, the highest one, is self-actualization. This is basically the sense that we are pursuing and nearing like our highest self, our more virtuous self, we may call it. We can maybe think of it as fulfillment, but in a church, we would consider it holiness, right? The youth ministry builds on what the family foundation has started and points also back to the family for a lot of those needs. So, food, safety are often established and provided for by the parents. But where the church comes in, the church honestly has the ability to provide a lot of those things, and I feel has an obligation to provide a lot of those things. Where we step in here in Colleyville, Texas, is supporting the family and speaking into that next phase of needs, the belonging, the esteem, and the self-actualization. Taking someone that has the basics provided for, but giving them the thing that we long for often, which JP2 says is this longing, this desire to be seen, known, and loved. Seen, known, and loved. Seen that we can be identified in a crowd, that people know our name, and that people recognize our face. Known that they know more than just our name. They know our story, they know who we are, what we like, maybe even the deeper, more intimate, more hidden parts of ourselves. And to be loved, to be chosen after those two things, to be selected in that they feel like they belong, to be loved, to be chosen, to will the good of another, the church says. Right? So there is the place where we get to meet our students. So the question is, how do we get there? We all know that we need relational ministry, but if we don't know how to go about doing it, it'd be hard to share and express the love of Jesus Christ if we don't get to know the other person. Relationship is about connection. It's about meeting another person where they are, seeing them face to face, and offering them the love of Christ in return. Relationship is vital to the ministry to be able to minister, because as JP2 talks a lot about in his teachings, we all have a deep desire to be seen, known, and loved. Relationship has to happen when you see someone for who they are, you know them completely, and you choose to love them despite all those things. If people don't feel like they're seen, feel like they're known, then relationship just simply does not happen. And if relationship does not happen, people do not have the opportunity to encounter Christ. Encountering Christ, we often think in large lightning bolt strikes, but often relationship happens in really simple ways. We have one retreat in our high school youth ministry programming called Revitalize. And at Revitalize, we get to spend an extended period of time with students, sharing a cabin with them, being in time in community and nature and fellowship and games and a lot of fun. And it's this very kind of like special place where you're able to get away to establish those kinds of things. Intensity is really important, and retreats are super important to be able to minister and to be able to kind of build relational ministry. What we often underappreciate, though, is the weekly activity of relating to another, to make the effort to continue to pursue the other people that we are put in front of, the people that we are called to minister to. Renovate could be a place for students to just come, to do the thing, and then to get out and to vanish and disappear. It could be a place where you could be hidden. In a culture that values relational ministry, that values relationship, it is impossible for a student that comes into our parish to be hidden. Not in a kind of helicopter way of always having eyes on them to just see if they behave correctly, but it is a place to not be hidden, to be seen, to know that they belong there. There is a certain level of excitement and peace and comfort in knowing that you are part of a community that values your voice, that expects to see your face, and feels that the ministry, the community, the whole is lacking when they're not there. The church often fails in this way. If I can just make some observations, for a lot of students, the ones that don't seem very churchy, there is maybe this guard put up, or this kind of thing communicated to them, maybe passively, that once you believe what we believe and you behave like you're supposed to behave, then you will belong, right? If I can just offer an observation, I think that the church oftentimes fails in this way, and especially for young people that are exploring themselves and are exploring things that they're passionate about, their interests, that sort of thing. They're oftentimes wrestling with identity and fitting in, but also standing out at the same time. There is wanting to have community, but also wanting to be different and unique and loved through that, right? So these two things come at a head, and some kids swing more towards individualism and put a lot of identity in the things that they are doing and wearing and expressing, and a lot of kids put a lot of identity in the community of people that they surround themselves with and who are in their social networks and their circles and that sort of thing. And all of this is kind of playing out. And what sometimes I think the church fails at is communicating to them that there is a home for them. This is the order of belonging, which I call it. There is the misconception communicated from the church, oftentimes, not all the time, that once you believe what we believe, you uphold all of our dogmas and doctrines, you behave like you're supposed to behave, you have manage your behaviors and do the things that you're supposed to, then you will belong. All right? Believe, behave, belong. And this is incorrect. What we desire for here at our youth ministry is not behavioral management, right? We're not trying to just fix the behaviors that students have. We desire for them to belong first, to believe, come to know and understand, and to accept the teachings that the Lord has given us. And the behavioral stuff comes last. Discipleship is something that is a lifelong process, and we all fall to sin. This is just very backwards and reverse from what the norm is, but belonging has to come first. It becomes first to know that you are known, to know that you are seen, to know that you are chosen and loved. It comes first for the encounter of Christ to happen, just as Pope Francis states. Belong, believe, behave. When relationship happens, when spiritual accompaniment happens, like Pope Francis is saying, when belonging happens, it does exactly what Pope Francis says that it does. When it is steady, when it's reoccurring, when it reflects the gaze of Jesus Christ, our ministry can heal. Our ministry can liberate. Our ministry can encourage growth with Jesus Christ. Like, how beautiful of a statement is that it can heal. Like, truly heal in the deepest, darkest places of our heart that need that healing, that it liberates, that it frees us from bondage, that it encourages us to growth with Jesus Christ. Like, there is no greater joy in this life than communion with Christ. And I will just be ecstatic just to see one of those things happen in the slightest and smallest of ways, in these incremental, slow, relationship, real, in the trenches, ministry that'll actually happen here. And I don't want you guys to doubt that it can happen with you, because if you are receptive and open to the Holy Spirit, then it can truly happen. Last thing is how. Nathan, how? Literally how, not me. Couldn't be me. I'm here to do my small group thing. I'm here to get some good food, hear some cool talks, and chat with some students, ask them the questions. But this whole thing, this whole accompaniment thing, this leading to healing, liberation, and closeness and connection to Jesus Christ, I'm not sure about that. What I would first ask you to do is to pray, discern, and intercede to Jesus Christ for our students, to really, really, really pray for them. What we have to have is our own really closeness to our Lord to be able to be great witnesses. And that is foundational to all these other steps. But we do need these other steps. So here are the basic how-tos of how to go about doing relational ministry. Step number one, or maybe these aren't steps, but just points number one. Find your things in common. It could be so simple to what they're wearing on their t-shirt. Are they wearing a band, and do you know the band? And there's a point of conversation. Oftentimes they'll just wear their school shirts. You can start with asking basic questions about their school. We all know that they go to school. We all know that they probably loathe high school. There can be a point of conversation. If they want to talk to you about how much school sucks, or maybe even how much this whole thing is kind of a drag, let it be the conversation point, because at least you're having conversation. And two, just be your authentic self in that whole process. Going about finding things in common and making connection. Don't be someone that you're not. If you're an introvert, there's going to be other introverts in the room. If you're an extrovert, a life of the party, and someone else you see is just having a really good time with their friends and stuff like that, find where you have that commonality, a sport, a college, a parent, wherever they live, a place that you've gone to, a same restaurant, something, and have a conversation about that and remember it. That is so incredibly important. All right, tip number 2 is use mealtime, so the 6 to 6:30, the 5:30 to 6:15ish that we have whenever students are showing up, to be the most important time in the Renovate experience, right? So this mealtime is your opportunity to meet people, to go out of your way to go after the person that's sitting alone, to go after the group that seems like juvenile delinquents that really need to know Jesus, that really need to meet Jesus. Like, that is only going to happen through you and your loving witness, okay? So tip number 3, use humor and experience to help to create a relationship. That is, honestly, you might be like, oh, we're kind of bordering up on like friendship now. We're not supposed to be friends with our students. Like, how does that all work? In a certain way, this might sound really questionable, but we are supposed to befriend our students in a way, right? They should come to trust us. They should come to feel like safe to be able to be silly, to be goofy, to be their own authentic self. And that only happens if we can break down some of the ice with real, authentic living, just being who you are, which oftentimes we all love humor, we all love being silly, we all love engaging in like different kinds of conversations to kind of break down that ice that is there. So this is ping pong, this is playing card games, this is asking silly questions. Would you rather do this or would you rather do this? If you were a genie, or you rubbed a lamp and a genie came out and you had 3 wishes, what would they be? Would you rather live on a home by the beach or up in the mountains? If you could pick, I don't know, if you could have your dream house but it could only have 1 or 2 things you could really splurge on, what would those 2 things be? Those sorts of things. It could be a place to have really funny, exciting conversation, and in that way, you can have connection and relationship. You'll end up knowing the student's name. You'll end up knowing something about them. Which actually brings me to another point. Remember their name, and if you don't think that you're good with names, say it over and over and over again. If you need to write it down on a sticky note and be like, guy that goes to Grapevine plays soccer, his name is Cameron, right? Write it down and figure a way to remember, and approach them next week and say, Cameron, it's good to see you again. I'm so glad that you're here. And that repetition actually builds memorization in your mind. That's the only way that I really become good with remembering names. You might be like, Nathan, how are you so good with names? Because I force myself to repeat their name over and over again. And if I don't know the student's name, don't feel guilty or weird about it. You know, you've only met them like once or twice too. Just be like, hey, what's your name again? I'm Scott, by the way. Sorry, I'm picking on you, Scott. I'm Scott, by the way. What's your name? And they'll be like, Miriam. Be like, great, Miriam, so happy you're here. Blah, blah. Okay, makes sense. Moving on, number 4, we have connect with them with other core team members that you might feel may be able to relate. And this does not mean just throw them all towards the 4 or 5 extroverted, cool core team members that we have, right? This is like real opportunity to connect people that actually have a real connection. Like their parents went to A&M, you went to A&M, talk about A&M. Like, I went to Arkansas, I really hate A&M, honestly, but if it's important to our ministry, then Giga Maggies. I don't really mean that, but do I? I'm not sure. Anyways, if you know of a student that really wants, like you hear and maybe like an even little inkling that they're discerning like seminary religious life, let's connect them to the right people. We have core team members that have been in seminary. We have core team members that have discerned religious life. Like, that is important to creating vocations in our church. Okay. And lastly, number 5, this is super important when we're kind of moving into the next conversation, which is going to be about discipleship, but search out those 2 to 5 kids in your small groups that you remember something about them last week, and just ask them about X. Like how was that math test? How was that soccer game that they had? How was that birthday party that they had? Like, all those things that you remember about them from the week past are how you create that consistent week-to-week connection to where you're kind of building a rapport of trust over and over and over again, and which becomes crucial to being able to actually do ministry. Because if they don't trust you, they don't know that you know what their name is, that you know something about them, they're really not going to listen to you and about what their relationship with Christ means. It's really hard to make a connection. They are really turned off often to older people. Some of them respect their elders great, some of them not so much. But whenever we are consistent, whenever we're persistent, whenever we are funny ourselves, are interested in them, it makes all the worlds of a difference. I can't tell you enough how many times I've had conversations with students, and the whole conversation is basically me just asking them loads and loads of questions and actually expressing real interest in who they are and what they do and what they love. I do care about those things, but for them to listen to me at the end of the day when I'm up on that Renovate stage, it's because I know that they know that I know them, and that's important to what we do here at Renovate, what we do here when we're talking about evangelization, catechesis, and discipleship, which is at the very heart of Renovate. Thank you guys for tuning in to another core team training video, another catechist training video. I really appreciate you guys' commitment to this ministry, to relational ministry, to creating a culture of belonging, and I'll check you guys out in the next video. See you soon.